There is a mistake that costs the average American somewhere between 3 and 7 years of their working life. Not a scam, not a bad investment, not a market crash. A decision that feels completely reasonable at the time, that millions of people make every single year, that nobody flags as dangerous because it is technically legal, technically optional, and technically your own choice. The mistake is leaving your 401k alone when you change jobs. And the reason it costs you years is not what most people think. Here is what actually happens. You work somewhere for 4 years. You contribute to the 401k. Your employer matches some of it. You leave for a better opportunity and you do not cash it out because you know cashing it out triggers taxes and a 10% penalty. So you do the responsible thing. You leave it there. You tell yourself you will deal with it later. Later becomes 2 years. Then 5. Then you change jobs again, and now you have 2 old 401k accounts sitting at 2 different providers you barely remember the login for, plus a new one at your current employer, and none of them are talking to each other. None of them are optimized for your current situation, and you have no real picture of what your actual retirement looks like because your money is scattered across 3 institutions with 3 different investment menus and 3 different fee structures. This is not a rare situation. Vanguard estimated there are roughly 29 million forgotten or abandoned 401k accounts in the United States holding over $1.5 trillion in assets. The Employee Benefit Research Institute found that 41% of workers cash out their 401k when they leave a job, paying the taxes and penalty rather than dealing with the complexity of rolling it over. Both groups, the people who cash out and the people who leave it scattered, are making a version of the same mistake. They are letting friction win over math. Let's put real numbers on what that friction costs. Say you are 32 years old and you leave a job with $18,000 sitting in a 401k. Option 1, you cash it out. If you are in the 22% federal tax bracket, you owe 22% in income tax plus 10% early withdrawal penalty. That is 32% gone immediately. Your $18,000 becomes $12,240. Option 2, you leave it at the old provider and forget about it for 20 years. If it grows at the market average of 7% annually after inflation, that $18,000 becomes roughly $69,600 by the time you are 52. Not bad. But if that same $18,000 had been rolled into an IRA or your new employer's plan and invested in a low-cost index fund instead of sitting in whatever default investment option your old employer happened to offer, and if that fund had expense ratios of 0.03% instead of the 0.8% average that many older 401k plans charge, the difference in fees alone over 20 years on that balance is approximately $9,000. $9,000 that went to a fund company instead of your retirement simply because you never made the phone call. The expense ratio problem is one of the most underestimated forces in retirement math, and it is worth understanding precisely because it is invisible. You never write a check for it. It never shows up as a line item on your statement. It is simply subtracted from your returns before you see them. A fund charging 0.8% annually versus a fund charging 0.03% sounds like a small difference. Over 30 years on a $100,000 balance, it is not a small difference. It is approximately $180,000 in lost compounding. The money does not disappear. It transfers quietly and automatically from your account to the fund company every single year, whether the market goes up or down, whether you are paying attention or not. Now here is the retirement mistake that actually costs people years, and it is more direct than fee drag. The Social Security timing decision. Most Americans are eligible to claim Social Security retirement benefits starting at age 62. Full retirement age, depending on when you were born, is between 66 and 67, and you can delay claiming all the way to age 70. For every year you delay claiming past full retirement age, your benefit increases by 8%. That is a guaranteed inflation adjusted. Government-backed 8% annual increase on an income stream that will last the rest of your life. There is no investment on earth that offers a guaranteed 8% return with zero risk. And yet the majority of Americans claim Social Security before full retirement age, many of them at 62, the earliest possible moment, which permanently reduces their benefit by up to 30% compared to what they would have received at full retirement age. The math on this decision is not subtle. If your full retirement age benefit is $2,000 a month and you claim at 62, you receive $4,100 a month for the rest of your life. If you wait until 70, you receive $2,480 a month for the rest of your life. That is $1,080 more per month, $12,960 more per year. If you live to 85, claiming at 70 instead of 62 puts an additional $129,600 in your pocket over your lifetime, inflation adjusted, guaranteed, with no investment risk attached to it. The break-even point, meaning the age at which the delayed claiming strategy starts winning, is typically around 80 for a single person. If you have any family history of longevity, if you are in reasonable health, if women in your family routinely live into their mid-80s or beyond, the math overwhelmingly favors waiting. The reason most people do not wait is not because they ran the numbers and decided early claiming made more sense for them. It is because they need the money. Or they are afraid they will die before the break-even point. Or they have heard that Social Security is going broke and they want to collect before something changes. That last fear is worth addressing directly because it drives an enormous amount of premature claiming. Social Security is not going broke. The Social Security trustees' most recent report projects that the trust fund reserves will be depleted around 2033 if Congress makes no changes. Depleted does not mean zero. It means the program would shift to paying benefits funded entirely by current payroll taxes, which based on current projections would cover roughly 77% of scheduled benefits. A 23% cut is serious and worth factoring into your planning. It is not worth claiming 7 years early and permanently locking in a 30% reduction to protect yourself from a possible future 23% reduction that Congress has strong political incentives to prevent. The third retirement mistake that costs people years is the one that is hardest to quantify because it is a mistake of omission rather than commission. It is the years between 22 and 32 when most people are not investing at all because they feel like they do not have enough money to make it matter. The math on those 10 years is ruthless. A 22-year-old who invests $200 a month from age 22 to 32 and then stops completely, never adds another dollar, will have approximately $602,000 at age 65, assuming 8% average annual returns. A 32-year-old who invests $200 a month from age 32 to age 65 every single month for 33 straight years will have approximately $414,000. The person who invested for 10 years and stopped has $188,000 more than the person who invested for 33 years and never stopped. Because of 10 years of compounding head start that no amount of catching up can fully replicate. The decade from 22 to 32 is the most valuable investing decade of your life by a significant margin. And most people spend it telling themselves they will start when they have more money. The amount does not matter as much as the start date. $50 a month at 22 is worth more than $500 a month at 35 in present value terms when you run it out to retirement. That is not an exaggeration. That is compound interest being exactly as mathematically relentless as everyone says it is. The retirement mistake that costs you years is never one decision. It is the accumulation of small, reasonable feeling choices made at moments when the long-term consequences are invisible. Leaving the old 401k because the rollover paperwork is annoying. Claiming Social Security early because waiting feels uncertain. Not starting at 22 because $200 a month feels too small to matter. Each of those decisions feels manageable in isolation. Across a working life, they add up to the difference between retiring at 62 and retiring at 69, between retiring with options and retiring with obligations, between the retirement you planned for and the retirement you ended up with. The people who retire early and with enough money did not find a secret investment strategy or earn dramatically higher incomes. They made slightly better decisions at the moments when most people make slightly worse ones, and they made them early enough that compounding had time to do the rest. That is the whole story. It has always been the whole story. The math does not change. Only the decision does.